What is up? Welcome to another episode of Off the Schneid. It's your boy Cody coming back for another UFC preview, breakdown, betting tips, prediction show. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on the air. I apologize, but with the midweek shows, I'm back at work. It's tough to get in all the tape for, 12 fight, 13 fight card. While I'm working, it's pretty much impossible, so it is what it is. Skipped a couple cards. My bet slips are still on Twitter. You can always follow me at Cody Woodman on Twitter. I'll have the link in the description. I post all my bet slips there, including the ones for this card. If you're here for the first time, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're a fan of the show, send it to a friend, family member, buddy, whatever, fight fan. Help me get the subscriber count up. We're over 200, which is really awesome, but I'd like to get into quadruple digits as soon as possible. We got an awesome fight card. We got UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Till. I believe this is the last one on Fight Island, then they head back to Vegas. We'll see if they go back to Fight Island, but I think they're going to be in Vegas for a little bit. Huge card. We got 15 fights, so it took me a while to get through all the tape. I think that might be a record. As of right now, no fights have fallen off, and a few have been added to Chimaev and stuff like that. So we got 15 fights. It's going to be an awesome night at Donnybrooks. We've got a couple rematches, a trilogy, that kind of stuff. It's going to be a great night. So with that, let's get right into it. Let's get into the picks for UFC Fight Night, Till versus Whittaker. All right, the first fight of the night, we've got the prospect Nathaniel Wood versus the sexy Mexi John Castaneda. We'll start with the sexy Mexi over here. 17-4, a little bit taller, reach is the same, body types, there's no reach advantage. I'm not concerned about that at all. Castaneda, million feints a minute. He should throw more volume considering what he likes to do. He's missed a weight a few times, and that almost led to him getting kind of kicked out of Combat Americas long time ago. He fought with Combat Americas for quite a few years, so they obviously mended the bridge there. Collegiate wrestler, solid fighter. Solid fighter. Nothing really to write home about, especially in this matchup. We got Nathaniel Wood on the other side. He's 1-2. Castaneda 1-2 in his last 3 fights against subpar competition, especially compared to Nathaniel Wood. So Nathaniel Wood loves leg and calf kicks. He's got a really good chin and a solid jab. Andre Ewell is very similar to Castaneda, but Ewell's better than Castaneda in my opinion. He's a forward pressure fighter. He cuts the cage in half, so he's always cutting off his opponent, sort of a thing. He's a solid grappler, good ground and pound, solid sweeps, scrambles, good trips, that good judo stuff, that type of thing. He's pretty good everywhere, pretty well rounded. I like Nathaniel Wood a lot. The thing about this fight that makes me really like Nathaniel Wood and makes me want to pick him, he's a huge favorite. That doesn't really mean a ton to me. I don't go off of who's the favorite, obviously. But he's fought 3 straight guys that are almost carbon copies of Castaneda. All southpaws, all kind of bouncy, feinty type of strikers. I really wish he didn't lose to John Dodson. I'm really not a John Dodson fan at all. And it was a back and forth fight. It was probably 1-1. It was a close fight, and he just kind of made a mistake in that one. And you can't make those types of mistakes against a veteran like John Dodson. So it is what it is. He took that loss, but he beat Jose Alberto Canones, Andre Ewell, Johnny Eduardo, and stopped them all. So Canones is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. I think he's a quality opponent, especially when you're taking steps like this, like Nathaniel Wood. And again, against Dodson, I thought he just kind of made a mistake. That he didn't really need to do. He wasn't like losing that poorly that he needed to sell out to try to win that fight, but maybe he kind of felt that way. He didn't go past the second round since 2017 coming into that Dodson fight. So in the third, he's like probably in his head thinking, I got to win this fight. I got to take it to him. I got to get this done. Sort of thing. That's kind of where my head's at when I'm looking at that fight. So he's fought 3 straight guys that are carbon copies of each other and of Castaneda. Southpaw's bouncy, like I said. So he's had the same camp This is the 4th fight in a row. He's had the same camp, more or less. He's preparing for more or less the same fighter. He's gotten it done against 2 of them, was right there against Dodson, and Dodson's by far the highest level out of all of these guys, Ewell, Canonis, and Castaneda. So I like Wood. I'm picking Wood. I'm not going to take up too much time on this one. I'm picking Nathaniel Wood to win. As far as the betting goes, I really don't mind. Like, you could just take the money line 1.2, chuck it in a parlay with a couple runners type of thing. I don't know if he stops him. I don't know if he goes out there and just like walks through Castaneda and stops him. He's only been knocked out once, and that was, 6 years ago. It was early in his career, and when it's early in your career like that and you're on the kind of regional circuit, sometimes those rests don't let you fight it out. They don't let you survive. I didn't watch that fight. I couldn't find it, but I've seen it time and time again on the regional circuit, especially early in a guy's career. They don't let them take a ton of punches. And I've seen early stoppages happen before. Grant Dawson last week, that was his only loss, was an early stoppage, in my opinion, on the regional circuit. So it happens. So I'm not thinking he's going to stop him. So I like the 2.75 for a decision for Nathaniel Wood. I do like that. He stops a lot of people, and he could stop Castaneda, but with the way he moves and his ability to get in and out, I think he can stay away, but he's going to get picked apart or taken down and ground and pound, that type of thing. I think Nathaniel Wood can win a decision. I don't mind that money. I'm not going to bet on this a ton. You can always check my bet slips. Like I say, I think I have Nathaniel Wood just on the money line in a parlay with 4 runners or something like that. So there's good value there. I'm personally not going to hedge at all. I'm not going to take Castaneda. I think it's extremely unlikely he gets this win. I guess if you wanted to, you could take the decision, or the money line is there. Take the money line, like if you want to bet on Castaneda. To go the distance, I don't mind the yes, but I probably won't be betting it. If anything, I think I actually did round bet this over 1.5. I do like that, because I don't think Wood is just going to go out there and walk through him and just stop him, just stonewall him. I really don't think that happens. So I like the 1.5, over 1.5 rounds money, 1.53 on your money. I like that. And that's probably all I'm touching as far as this fight's concerned. Considering it's the first fight of the night, I'm not going to take a ton of risk, and I probably won't even bet the decision money, but I wouldn't sue you if you did. Throw the money line in a parlay, over 1.5 rounds. You could bet that straight up or in a parlay. Check my bet slips, like I said. Let me know who you're picking in the comments, but there you go. First fight of the night, Nathaniel Wood gets the win. Second fight of the night, we've got Nicholas the Green Mask Stolze versus Ramazan Goretz Emeev. We'll start with Stolze, 12-3, pretty solid boxer, kickboxer type of thing. Good offense and defense as far as the kickboxing is concerned. He's got decent jiu-jitsu with 5 submissions on his record, which is pretty reasonable. He's got a good chin. He's never been stopped at all. All of his 3 losses have come by decision. On the other side, coming back, we've got Ramazan Emeev, 18-4. All of his UFC fights, all 4 of his UFC fights have gone to a decision. That's just something that I'll come back to. 10 of his 18 wins have come via stoppage, 8 decision wins. He has been subbed, he has been KO'd, and a couple decision losses as well. He's very open for leg and calf kicks, like we saw in the Anthony Rocco Martin fight. He's well-rounded, but isn't really like amazing everywhere. So like from what I saw from Emeev, he's good at everything. He's well-rounded. He's not amazing everywhere. He's not a great kickboxer, and he's not a Khabib-style wrestler. So, just because he's Russian and he's from Dagestan doesn't mean that he's some phenomenal wrestler. He's good everywhere, really. He's good everywhere. But I couldn't see, nothing from the tape told me that he's some amazing anything. Wrestler, kickboxer, whatever it is. Here's an interesting thing I noticed about Emeev. He's got this weird tick where he pulls his shorts down after an exchange. It's really strange. It's like a reset tick that he pulls his shorts down, he comes back, he pulls both hands, pulls his shorts down type of thing. If you can time that guy, like if you can time it with something, keep your distance, like let him think that it's a reset. but be close enough that you could throw something, kind of crazy. I think you could catch him with something crazy. He does it almost every time there's a reset, which is weird, and it's a strange tick. Some guys just have these ticks, and it's a thing, especially for Emeev. So watch out for that. I think that's something that Stolze could take advantage of. He's a little taller, should be a little longer, and have a little bit of reach, so he should be able to close the distance a lot quicker. He's really good back and forth, so he should be able to close that distance and take advantage of it if you could time it properly. Obviously, you don't want to sell out or anything and get taken down by Emeev. You don't want that, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I think at the higher level that Emeev goes, it's going to be a thing that can be taken advantage of by these more skilled, more experienced fighters. It's a strange tick, and I really don't like it about him. Actually, I think it's really obvious. It's really noticeable. Last time out, took out decision loss to Anthony Rocco Martin, who fed him leg kicks, so that calf kicks, I should say, and that's what I think Stolze should do. Sam Alvey, Alberto Mina, Stefan Sekulic. Yeah, all decision wins. Like, these guys aren't world beaters by any means. Like, Sam Alvey might be the biggest name on there besides Rocco Martin, who he lost to, and Sam Alvey's, might not come back. He might not, have another fight in the UFC after he lost to Span there. We'll see. But I think that Stolze is a live dog here. I think he's got a reasonable shot to win this fight, a lot more than the odds makers are giving him. I have already bet it straight up 4-1 on my money, and I bet the 4-1 in a parlay, and I took him to win in a decision straight up. $25. It's a half unit for me. So $25 wins me $200 if he wins a decision. I think that's a pretty reasonable shot, considering Emeev hasn't stopped anybody since 2016. 4 years. He's not out there knocking guys' blocks off. And, Sam Alvey, Mina, these guys aren't like world beaters. So if it goes to a decision, I think there's a reasonable shot that Stolze could steal this just based off of volume. Emeev's not out there throwing a million punches a minute, blowing people away with volume. And Stolze can be doing that. He can do that. And even in the wrestling, I don't think he's going to be blown away by Emeev. I don't think he's an amazing wrestler. I really don't. So I think we got a live dog situation here. And as far as you know what? I'll say it right now. I'm picking Stolze. I'm straight up picking him to win this fight. And as far as the betting is concerned, I am betting on him too. A lot of times I may or may not bet on the guy I'm picking. Whatever, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. But I am picking him to win. I think he's got a reasonable shot. He's younger, longer, taller, faster. All these things, probably stronger. I like his chances in this fight. I really do. And then again, 4-1 on your money on the money line. It's worth just betting straight up. You don't need to parlay this. You could throw it with like Chimaev or something like that, which I'm kind of giving that fight away. But you could put it with somebody that you're extremely confident on with a 4-1, and you're going to get a nice payout. But it's perfectly acceptable to just bet straight up. Even 8-1 on your money in a decision, like, I think that there's a very good shot this fight goes to a decision, and so do the odds makers. 1.4 for it to go to a decision, but I'm getting 8-1 on Stolze. That's what I'm talking about. Like, even if I'm wrong, it is what it is, right? It's a dog or pass situation for me. 100%. There's a couple on this card where it's a dog or pass, and this is 100% the first one. A very good opportunity to make money if I'm right. If I'm not, it is what it is. But I just think that given everything that the line is saying, it doesn't make sense to bet on Emeev at all, especially with what I saw on the tape. So there you go. Gave you some stuff to chew on. As far as round betting, I probably don't round bet it at all. I really don't. I just I take my money where I can get it in a very good price, which is at the decision money for Stolze, money line for Stolze. I don't think he stops him, so it's 4-1, 8-1, even better. The numbers for Emeev just aren't there for me to even look at. I'm not even going to look at them, to be honest. It's a dog or pass. So I'm picking Stolze. I'm betting on Stolze. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's move on to the next fight. Next up, we got the first female fight of the night. We got Correia, the Pitbull, versus Pani Banzai Kianzad. This should be actually a fairly exciting fight, even though I really don't like Correia at all. But I do like Pani Kianzad, and I think she's got a reasonable future at this in the UFC and at this weight class. We'll start with Correia. She's got little to no volume on the feet. Tires out from just feinting. She tires herself out from throwing a ton of feints. She's got zero accuracy with her strikes. She throws zero kicks for the most part. She's really not good at pretty much anything. Really not a great wrestler. One or two strikes, no combos. She's not out there. She's not going to surprise anybody, I don't think. Decent power, I suppose. She's definitely got decent one-punch power, but again, it's one punch. It's one or two punches. She's not throwing together 3, 4, 5 strike combos with kicks and leg kicks, head kicks, that kind of thing, finishing with, you know what I mean? She's not doing anything that's really concerning to me. Last time out, she beat Sijara Eubanks in a unanimous decision, which is actually surprising to me. Before that, lost to Irene Aldana, who's extremely similar to Pani Kianzad. Got head kick, knocked out in a very slow, boring fight until that head kick against Holly Holm. A draw against Marion Renault. Split decision against Jessica Ai. Lost to Rocky Pennington, and then 34-second knockout to Ronda Rousey for the belt way back in the day. She was undefeated before that Ronda Rousey fight. So that's Correia, man. She's really, honestly, I don't know. She was fighting lesser competition for sure before the Ronda Rousey fight, and then she hasn't fared very well at all fighting top competition since then. I mean, Sijara Eubanks, that's a good win, I suppose, and Jessica Ai, good win, I suppose, but I'm really not too concerned with her. I'm really not. Pani Kianzad, last time out, she beat Jessica Rose Clark in unanimous decision. She looked really good in that fight, really good with her strikes. She's got very good boxing fundamentals, a really good jab. Heavy and accurate hands, which is more important to me, is accurate hands. She's got good footwork, good movement, and a really good gas tank, which I think is going to be a big difference in this fight. So beats Jessica Rose Clark, just grinded against her and just pump that jab out there. 1-2s, boom, boom. Those combos together. I like Pani Kianzad. Before that, she loses to Julia Avila. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Beats a girl outside of the UFC, and then before that, in the Ultimate Fighter finale, she lost to Macy Chiasson, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that Macy Chiasson might be one of the next title contenders or holders very soon in this division. She had a slip up against Lena Landsberg, but I really like Macy Chiasson. I really do. And she did what you have to do against someone like Pani Kianzad, who has fantastic boxing. She took her down, grinded her out, pounded her out, ended up choking her out. Before that, her losses come to like Sarah Kaufman, Tanya Evinger. Nothing wrong with these losses. Like there's one or two on here, one on here that she should have probably got the win, but that's it. Like she's not losing to people that she should beat, and she's beating everybody that she should. I say that kind of stuff all the time, but it does, make a difference. Like when you beat the people you should beat every single time. I love that consistency, and so do bettors. Obviously, I'm a bettor. So I'm picking Pani Kianzad in this. I think it's actually fairly straightforward and fairly one-way traffic, I think, in this fight. I think she's going to be able to overwhelm her with strikes and volume. She's got height, reach, way more skill pretty much everywhere. I think this is going to be a stand-up battle. I actually think that there's a reasonable, it's small, but there's a reasonable possibility Pani Kianzad stops her. I probably won't bet it. If this was later in the card and I was maybe behind or up some money, I might throw a unit or a half unit or something like that on a stoppage for Kianzad. But this early in the fight, in the card, I probably won't touch it. I have bet it on the money line for sure. It moved away it moved to, away from Pani Kianzad. She started at 1.72, I believe, and now it's come down a little bit, which it probably should. She should be a bigger favorite than this, in my opinion. 1.53, maybe, something like that is what I would say if I was making this line. So take advantage of it while you can, I think. I don't give Correia too many opportunities to win this fight. I really don't. There's not too many routes to victory that I see for her. So the money line's there. If considering how it looks right now, the line, I probably won't take the decision money over the money line. It's not enough. Considering I just said there's a reasonably, I shouldn't say small, there's probably like a 35% chance that she stops her. 6-1 on your money for that. So I'm just going to take the money line as it sits right now. Fight to go the distance, I'm not touching that. Over 1.5 rounds, I think I threw in a 5-runner parlay type of thing. Very good possibility that Correia can eat that many punches for a round and a half. And then we'll see what happens. So I probably don't touch the round betting too much. That money line, 1.66, is just a really decent number. That's what I'm smashing a fair bit. I threw it in a couple parlays. I bet it straight up at 1.72. So there you go. That's who I'm picking. I think it's going to be straightforward, more or less one-way traffic for Pani Kianzad in this one. And Correia might not be in the UFC too much longer. She's at that age, and she's really not a threat to too many people, in my opinion. So there you go. That's who I'm picking. Let me know in the comments who you're taking, and let's move on to the next one. We got the first heavyweight fight of the night. We got the Canadian Alberta boy, Tanner the Bulldozer Boser, versus Rafael, not going to attempt his nickname, Pessoa Nunes. So we'll start with the Bulldozer. He's 6'2", orthodox fighter, switches really well though. Moves well on his feet and has heavy leg kicks, which could play a huge role in this fight. Honestly, he can play a huge role in any fight, especially at heavyweight. There's not a ton of guys that smash calf kicks, especially like Boser does. He's won multiple fights with it. Should have a better gas tank for sure. He's better striker, more volume, and that leg kick is gonna play a role, I'm telling you. Look like a different fighter against Felipe Lins, and I think he's going to come out and try to get that tip money, man. He should have got knockout of the night against Lins. That was kind of robbery that he didn't get nothing, no bonus, nothing. Hopefully Dana kicked him a couple shekels on the side, because he definitely deserved it, man. He looks great. He looks like a different fighter than he did against Cyril Gane and Daniel Spitz. He looks like a different guy. He looks great, and I'm loving it. Canadian kid, Alberta boy. You gotta love it. So last time out, KO'd Felipe Lins. I bet it, won some money. It was a good bet for the KO. Cyril Gane had a ton of respect for him. He did. When they fought, he had a ton of respect for Boser. They went to a decision. Gane won, no question, but he had a ton of respect for his power, his movement, everything. Daniel Spitz, he beat the crap out of his leg, looked like he had a brain sitting on his leg. I think that could be a thing here. So yeah, man, I like Boser a lot. We'll move over to Pessoa. Obviously I like Boser. I'm in Alberta. I live in Calgary. I'm an Alberta kid. Not really, sorry, I'm not an Alberta kid, but I live in Alberta, so I gotta like my guy there. So last time out for Rafael Pessoa, beats Jeff Hughes in the decision. I kind of thought he was going to get the stoppage. It just didn't quite get there. And Cyril Gane, common opponent, more or less walked through this guy. First round arm triangle, and this guy's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I think, and Cyril Gane is absolutely not. He did rock him, so he was a little bit, hazy, and then sinks in an arm triangle for the win. That was his only loss, and he's won by, submission or KO most of his other fights, 3 decision wins. Outside of the UFC, and then Jeff Hughes, obviously a decision win. He carries his hands pretty low, and he's very heavy on his lead leg, which is, again, leg kicks, calf kicks. It's going to play a toll in this fight. He throws some ridiculous spinning kicks, and I don't mean that in a good way. He throws these weird, crazy spin kicks like he's a friggin' welterweight. This dude's like 260. Like, he's not a light guy. He's not, he shouldn't be out there throwing spinning kicks and stuff like that. He's nowhere near athletic enough to be doing it. Um, yeah, and Boser is the best fighter by quite a large margin besides Cyril Gane that he's fought. So Cyril Gane would be number one. Obviously, he beat Boser, but this is and Gane walked through him. So by a large margin, Boser's the best fighter he's fought besides Cyril Gane. So I'm picking Boser. Of course I'm picking Boser, but I really don't, like, that's not even me being biased. I don't think. It's just, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward fight. I think he's going to have more power. He looks great. He's going to have way more cardio. And he can just pick him apart, leg kicks. I think it's going to be fairly straightforward for Tanner Boser. 1.4 on your money. Again, I have already bet it, and I probably will smash it a little bit more. I haven't touched the stoppage money, which I probably will. 3.2. I think he was at like 6.5 in the Felipe Lins fight, which is amazing value, which is why I took it. And gets basically cut in half in his next fight, which usually always happens. Look at Chimaev, like look at anytime you see a quick stoppage or whatever it is, or a huge win or just one-way traffic fight, their odds just get slashed horribly in their next fight. So it is what it is. Decision money 2.2. I mean, I don't know. With what I saw out of Boser last time, I think he could I'm more comfortable betting the KO money. I think, I don't know. We'll see. Check my bet slips. I haven't bet the stoppage or decision. I have absolutely smashed the money line 1.4. The fight to go the distance money is interesting. 2-1 for it not to go to a decision. That's pretty good money. But the thing is, I just don't see, I hate betting that when I only see one guy stopping the fight. It's similar to like Peter Yan and Jose Aldo on the last card there on last Saturday. I only saw Yan winning that fight, stopping that fight. I only saw Yan stopping that fight. And if you only see one guy stopping it, I don't like betting that, right? So that's how I feel about this one. I don't think that Pessoa can stop Boser, but I do think Boser can stop Pessoa. So that's where I'm getting this from. So I don't touch that because I'm leery of only having it one way, right? Round betting 1.33 for over 1.5. Again, it's a heavyweight variance. I'm not touching the rounds unless I went. Instead of it not to go the distance, I'd probably go under 2.5 rounds for an extra quarter. I'd probably take that. So yeah, I mean, I'm picking Boser. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I don't really give Pessoa much of a chance in this fight. I mean, he could catch him, I suppose. I don't know. I won't be hedging. I won't be betting him. I won't be recommending anyone bet on him. If you take it, good for you, and you're right. Good for you. But there you go. Let me know who you think in the comments. I'm betting on Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser gets this win and starts getting some momentum in the heavyweight division, I think. So let's go Tanner Boser. Next up, we've got a featherweight bout. This should be a really, really good fight. I'm actually super, super intrigued and excited to watch this one. We got Movsar Evloev versus Mike Grundy. We'll start it out with Evloev. He's a very, very good wrestler with heavy top game and ground and pound. Solid boxing fundamentals and boxing defense. As far as I know, he trains with Peter Yan, who's one of the best boxers in the UFC. Forget about weight classes. So he's learning quite a bit. As far as I can understand, they're basically trading off each other. Yan's getting the wrestling. Evloev is getting the boxing, which makes tons of sense. It's a great way to do things. He's a bit of a grinder who has just been improving everywhere. There was quite a large leap from his fight with Choi to his fight with Barzola, and that was within a year. So that was really good to see. He's a former bantamweight champ, not flyweight, which is where this fight is taking place at 145. He's a former bantamweight champ with M1. Which is interesting. It's interesting that he went up a weight class when he came to the UFC. Usually it's the other way around. But he's obviously comfortable. Two wins and 2 fights. He's undefeated, 12-0. 7 of his 12 wins have come via stoppage, 5 decisions. That's Evloev. Let's move over to Mike Grundy. Mike Grundy, he's twitchy quick. Not a ton of volume on the feet, so twitchy quick with a lot of feints. Similar in a way to Alexander Volkanovski in that sort of sense, in the way that he's kind of like in and out, twitchy and feinty, that kind of thing. Obviously, Volkanovski throws a lot more volume than Grundy, and I'd like to see a little more. He's a grindy wrestler with a lot of submissions. He's got 8 of his 12 wins. He's 12-1. 8 of his 12 wins have come via submission, which I don't think is going to play a role in this fight. I really don't. Large, strong featherweight with decent hands. He's a big guy. He's thick guy. We might see a stand-up battle here. I think we might see a stand-up battle. These two guys are very good wrestlers. They're both pretty good on the ground. Like, Evloev is more of a wrestler than he is kind of a submission artist. And Mike Grundy would probably have the advantage there, but I think they can neutralize each other. I think we might see a stand-up battle. And I think that Evloev has improved to the point where he would be better than Grundy pretty much everywhere. I really do. I really think that Evloev's going to get this win. So that's who I'm picking, is Movsar Evloev. I do like Mike Grundy. Don't get me wrong. Finished Nadner Amani in his UFC debut about a year and 3 months ago, something like that, in March of last year. So he hasn't been particularly active, which you'd kind of like to see him put his foot on the pedal considering his age. Evloev has had 2 fights since Grundy's last. So, and he's improving a ton. Even just from the Choi to the Barzola, and Barzola is probably the best fighter on either of these guys' resumes. And Evloev handled him relatively, I'm not going to say easily, but he handled him. He got that win, and there was no dispute about it. It was a good fight, a really fun fight to watch. So just based off of all of those things, if there was like a huge reach or something advantage, or like a massive wrestling or any sort of advantage for Grundy, I would probably lean that way. But everything's more or less equal. And I'm going towards Evloev. I really like him in this fight. I think I've bet him once or twice already, and I'll look for some other spots, I think. 1.53 on the money line. That's a good number. 1.5 on your money. Don't mind that. I do think it's very good potential that this is a decision. Grundy I've seen get rocked. So the only thing, if this fight ends in a knockout, I think it's going to be a head kick by Evloev. I do. I think that would be the end of this fight. If it happens, look at me. If not, it's probably going to go to a decision. Head kick knockout for Evloev, or it's a grindy type of fight that goes to a decision. Either way, I like Evloev. I think he's better everywhere. I really do. I think he's just better everywhere that this fight can go. And the way that I've seen him improve, if he takes another step forward in this fight, it's going to be one-way traffic. So we'll see. 4.33 on your money for a stoppage. That's good money. I might touch it. We'll see. Check my bet slips. I haven't yet. 2.2 on the decision. That's decent money too, but I probably stick to the money line in this case, just considering the difference in decision and money line money there. It's not enough for me. Fight to go the distance, 1.44. I'm not touching that one. Over 1.5 rounds, it's not enough. If it was in the high threes, or like 1.33, 1.44, something like that, I'd rather, if it was 1.44, I'm betting over 1.5 rounds. But other than that, I'm not touching it. So I'm just going to go straight up money line for Evloev, and I might touch the decision money, the stoppage money. If you want to bet Grundy, I mean, I can't sue you. I can't get upset with you about it, but I mean, a decision, 4-1 on your money, that's good value there. But again, I think Evloev gets this win. So let me know who you picked in the comments there, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. I'm excited for this fight, and I'm picking Evloev. So there you go. All right, we got a heavyweight bout here that I am extremely excited to see. This one I'm going to be smashing betting-wise for sure, and I'm excited to watch this one. It should be really fun. Let's start with Jay Collier. Pretty decent striker, good combinations. Throws a lot of spinning stuff, kicks, punches, that sort of a thing. This guy is a former middleweight. He's a former 185er. You don't see guys that fight this low move up to heavyweight and end up being some sort of world breaker, like dominators over here. Like, it just doesn't happen. Last fight was at, I believe, 205. So he's moved up a couple times, and that's not a good sign to me. He hasn't fought in almost 3 years, moves up another weight class. I don't think that spells, that's not a good sign. That doesn't say that he's going to come out here and just wreck Tom Aspinall. So we got Jay Collier, Tom Aspinall, sorry I didn't say it off the top, who's fighting. Obviously you can see it on the board there. The prototype Jay Collier. I'm not sure that's a good nickname for him, but whatever. Last time out, gets a decision win against Marcel Fortuna, lost to Devin Clark. Just one win-loss on his UFC resume. So nothing particularly wrong with that. I'm not going to say anything about his resume. It is what it is, but hasn't fought for 3 years, moves up 2 weight classes. I just don't particularly love his chances, to be honest. So let's move over to Tom Aspinall. Trains with Darren Till, good buddies with Darren Till. Has worked with Tyson Fury, which is huge, obviously, as a boxer. He's a BJJ black belt. He's a proper heavyweight. That's a big thing here. Like Jay Collier does have the size, but he doesn't particularly have the body type, He's 6'3", which isn't super tiny, but if you fought at 185, you don't have the body type to be a heavyweight. You're just, you're just going there because it's, you know what I mean? It's easy to just be a heavyweight and just eat what you want and train how you want and, do whatever you want and go out there and fight. And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. Like, look at Roy Nelson, made a career of it, but, I just don't like moving up weight classes like that. Your body's different and it doesn't respond the way that it did before when you were lighter. I always say that and I always think that, like, especially if you're moving that many weight classes, right? Like, what's he going to weigh in at? I don't know. That'll be interesting. Like, what's he going to weigh in at? If he's at like 250, I don't give him a shot. If he's at like 230, looks lean, looks good, all right, then I might eat my words here, but we'll see. We'll move over again to Tom Aspinall. 6'5", proper heavyweight, solid wrestling, solid grappling, really good ground and pound. And his only true loss, Stuart Austin, heel hook. He was winning that fight. He was doing very good. Had him on the ground. He was pounding him out, and they just kind of got caught. It's weird that he got caught in a heel hook as a BJJ black belt. Maybe he wasn't quite there at that time. He was in 2015. So maybe he wasn't quite there with his jiu-jitsu yet. I don't know. I didn't look at when, the date of when he got his black belt, but either way, but he prefers to stand and bang anyways. I think he just wants to have it in his back pocket in case, he fights a guy like Werdum or something, you know what I mean? Like, he just wants to have it in his back pocket, which is always a good thing to have, especially as a heavyweight. There's not a ton of wrestlers that will just be pure wrestlers, take you down, ground and pound, that type of thing in the heavyweight division. But if there are and you face them, you got this in your back pocket. Last time out, under a minute knockout. Before that, it says on his record, TKO due to leg injury. That's a nice way of saying he snapped this dude's leg with a check. Like, he checked a leg kick and snapped this dude's leg, and it was disgusting. I'm really grossed out by that kind of stuff. I mean, I love fighting and, violence is fun, but man, watching a guy bust his leg like that, Anderson Silva style, it makes me want to it's gross. So his only other loss was a DQ downward elbow John Jones style. So I don't really count that. And he had a good amateur career as well, and I'm sure he had a good boxing career. I'm not sure. I didn't look into it to see if he actually had professional boxing bouts, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did at all. I like Tom Aspinall, man. I think he can make some noise in this division relatively quickly. If he goes out there and knocks Collier's block off, which I think there's a very good chance of that happening, he could, sign himself up for a reasonably big fight, like a Greg Hardy or something like that. If he really makes some noise in this fight, he could get a reasonable fight and move up fairly quickly. I think there's a lot of room for somebody, to make a lot of noise and move up. Look at Rosenstruck, there's a lot of room for a guy to just move up, plow through the rankings fairly quickly, as long as they're doing what they got to do and handling their business. And I think Aspinall could be that type of guy, especially his age, his height, reach, everything. I'm excited to watch this fight. So I'm absolutely picking Tom Aspinall and absolutely betting on him a bunch. 1.5 on your money for this not to go the distance. That is actually crazy good money. I think I bet 2 full units on this. That is crazy good money considering these are big heavyweights, knockout artists. Aspinall has never been to a decision. Collier, I think, has been to like 1 or 2. 4 total in 15 fights. I think that's crazy good money considering the circumstances. I absolutely will be betting on him for the stoppage, 2-1 on my money. I actually think that's good money considering. 1.45 in the money line, absolutely not touching decision money whatsoever. Yeah, I already touched under 2.5 rounds, win on that as well instead of the distance money. I took both, put one in a parlay and bet one straight up. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to make some relatively easy money. I'm quite a bit confident in this fight. I think Tom Aspinall gets this done relatively easily. Could see a first round knockout. Could be a knockout of the night type of thing. Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. I'm picking Tom Aspinall. Let me know who you think in the comments. Let's move on to the next fight. Next up, we got an interesting one. We've got Nicholas Locomotivo Dalby versus Jesse the Body Snatcher Ronson, Canadian kid. We'll start with Jesse Ronson, southpaw, decent, accurate striker, solid kickboxer, very good balance and takedown defense if that plays a role in this fight, which I do think it will actually. This is his second stint in the UFC. Way back in 14, way back in 14, he fought Michel Paceres, Francisco Trinaldo, who's on this card as well, and Kevin Lee. Split decisions, 3 split decision losses. That's not a fun way to go through your UFC career and then get cut. All those could obviously go the other way. 3 split decision losses in a row. That is not fun. And that's really disheartening, in your UFC career to just have that happen to you. Fights his way back, TKO vet, ACB vet, PFL vet. He's fought a lot of good guys. He battles his way back to get back in the UFC, and you gotta love it. Move over to Nicholas Dalby. He is 18-3. I kind of feel like that's a misleading record actually, but that's just my opinion on that. Tons of feints and leg kicks, puts combinations together and finishes with a lot of head kicks when he does put those combos together. Decent grappler, but not a great wrestler, if that makes sense. Like he's good at grappling once you get a hold of him, but he's not shooting double legs, single legs, and high crotches and doing all these wrestling techniques and just bullying guys in that way. And even if he did, I think Ronson can do a good enough job staying on his feet if that were the case. Last time out, and again, he's another guy who was in the UFC, got booted out, some close losses, unanimous decision loss. He drew with Darren Till. He had a draw with Darren Till, beat Zaleski dos Santos, and again, a split decision. So he's a grindy type of guy, grindy type of a wrestler and fighter in general. And battles his way back through Cage Warriors and gets back in the UFC, fights Alex Oliveira, who's also on this card, got a unanimous decision win. I thought that fight was a lot closer than the scorecard might have said. I think it maybe should have been a split. I thought Alex Oliveira was right in that fight. And his last fight in Cage Warriors, that was awesome. It's an awesome fight. It definitely satisfied the blood gods, that's for sure. It's one of the bloodiest, most disgusting fights I've ever seen. Within the first 2 minutes, it was against Ross Houston, by the way, who's another name to definitely keep track of. Keep that name in the back of your mind. Ross Houston, undefeated fighter, Cage Warriors. Very good fighter, very good prospect. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the UFC at some point. Either way, Ross Houston hits him with a clean, quick inside elbow, opens up about a 3-inch gash on his head, leaks everywhere. Houston definitely gets the first round, wins that one relatively easily, 10-9 probably. I wouldn't give it a 10-8, but a 10-9 for Ross Houston. Second round starts. Nicholas Dalby comes out, one punch breaks his nose, breaks Ross Houston's nose. He's leaking everywhere. It's disgusting. The mat in Cage Warriors was vinyl, not canvas, which doesn't equal, blood gets slippery. And if it's not a canvas surface, it's going to get slippery. So in the third round, it was a mess. They're slip and sliding all over the place. They can't even get a hold of each other. They can't plant their feet, their knees, nothing. They're slipping around. And Mark Otter made a good decision to call off the fight and call it a no contest. Because if it ended, that third round ended, it was a 5-round fight, but if that third round ended, they would go to a decision. And that would have been unfair for both guys. In that fight, I'd love to see a rematch, number one. But in that fight, it would have been unfair to take that to a decision, considering the third round was, it got stopped because they literally couldn't fight on that surface anymore. It was just a mess. So to take that fight away from one of them, I don't think would have been right. So I'm very, very happy that he did call that a no contest. And it was one of the most interesting, different, bloodiest fights I've ever seen in my life. If you got time, go watch it. It's awesome. But either way, back to this one. This is an interesting one. I actually am going back and forth on this one. I think Ronson is a live dog here. I do think he's a live dog. I'm picking Dalby, and I have bet on Dalby already too. But I do think that Ronson is a live dog. So if you really like him, I'm not going to hate you for betting on him. I probably won't bet money on Jesse Ronson. I probably won't. I didn't love what I saw on tape. I wasn't like extremely blown away or intrigued by what I saw, to be honest. But I do think he is a live dog. I do think that this has a very good potential to go to a decision. I think there's a very good potential for that. But the odds aren't fantastic. I'm probably not betting this a ton. I've already put Dalby in a parlay, and that's probably all I'll do. I'll probably leave it at that. 1.4, 2.3 for a decision. If you're going to bet Jesse Ronson, 4.33 on a decision, I couldn't hate you for doing it. I really couldn't. I think he's a live dog here, but I don't think I'll be betting on him. Check my bet slips. This is, as we start to get later in the card, if I'm up or down money, I might throw some, little sprinkles here and there. I'll definitely be live betting, like I said, here and there throughout the card, depending on, where I'm sitting at. But this one I'll probably avoid a little bit. It's a little tricky. It's a tricky one. And like I said, I'm picking Nicholas Dalby, and I have bet on him in a parlay, but I won't go crazy, and I probably won't touch it too much more. So there you go. A lot to chew on. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments. Let's move on to the next fight. We got a lightweight bout. This is an intriguing matchup. We've got a solid UFC vet who's seen pretty much everything, 41 years old, versus a debuting Jai Herbert. Francisco Trinaldo, Jai Herbert, the Black Country Banger. That's interesting nickname. We'll start with Trinaldo. Southpaw, likes to move forward and feint a ton. Lots of kicks, Muay Thai style striker. Ton of kicks to the body and legs. Throws in some head kicks in there as well. Vet who's seen and been in with pretty much everyone and has seen everything. Very, very experienced. Not too many guys go straight at him. They really don't. Not too many guys go straight at Trinaldo and try to kind of overpower him with striking and just with volume and that kind of thing. And Jai Herbert might just do that. So we'll see. But last time out, he got the unanimous decision win against John McDessie. Wasn't that super exciting of a fight. Before that, beats Bobby Green in a similar style. Fights Alexander Hernandez, unanimous decision, lost somehow. I thought Trinaldo won that fight, actually. So either way, body kicked him, Evan Dunham. Lost to James Vick. He's been in there with Kevin Lee. Paul Felder he has a win against. Yeah, he's been in there forever. When was his debut? Debuted in the UFC in 2012. He's been there for 8 years. So and he's fought a ton of great fighters. He's including Jesse Ronson, who's on this card. Yeah, he's not nothing. There's really not a ton that Jai Herbert's going to do that's going to super surprise Trinaldo, or he's not going to know how to handle or hang with, right? Let's move over to Jai Herbert, former Cage Warriors lightweight champ, very accurate and polished kickboxer. Lots of movement, light on his feet, and especially even as the fight goes on, like really, he's got really good cardio, and he's a finisher. 9 of his 10 wins have come via stoppage. He's got knocked out once against McKee, who we'll talk about in, I think, the next fight or something like that. It was 4 years ago, and then had a pretty decent amateur career as well. Lot to like with this kid. I really liked what I saw there out of Jai Herbert. I really did. Especially in this fight, I think this is a really good matchup for him. Orthodox versus Southpaw. I think this is a good matchup for him, actually. I do. And I don't think I would say that a ton about guys debuting against Trinaldo. With the experience that he has and the things that he can do, this is going to be an interesting fight. It's obviously he's taller, longer, which I think is going to be a big thing, as long as he can not let Trinaldo spar with him. Trinaldo's had a lot of success when guys let him come to them, right? You don't particularly want to counterpunch Trinaldo. I think if you put him on his heels, you're going to have a lot more success. 5 straight wins, 5 of his last 5, 6 straight wins since that McKee loss. And like I said, he stops pretty much everybody. He's been a big time dog in Cage Warriors. He's been a favorite in Cage Warriors. So, 32 years old, he's seen quite a bit of stuff. Like, he's seen a fair bit of things. He trains at a jiu-jitsu gym, but he prefers stand-up. I think he's a live dog, man. The line has already moved away from him a little bit. I'm still betting Jai Herbert, especially in some light parlays with 2-3 runners. I like Jai Herbert in this. I do. I think it's a good matchup for him. I think his style, I think he matches up well with Trinaldo. I do. I really do. Considering it's Southpaw versus Orthodox as well. So 2.25 on the money line. That's good money right there. You don't need to look too much further. I do like the decision money. 3.6 for a decision. Trinaldo has never been knocked out. 3 times he's lost by submission. I don't think that Jai Herbert's going to go out there and submit Trinaldo. I really, really do not. Like the guys that submitted him, Kevin Lee, rear naked choke, sure. Piotr Hallman and Yuri Alcantara. Yuri Alcantara. Those are pretty established, fighters in general, but they're definitely probably better on the ground than Herbert. And maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but just from what I saw, he's not exactly taking guys down and submitting them. It's just, and maybe he just prefers to stand and bang. So I do like the decision money, 3.6. I 100% like the money line money, 2.25. I don't particularly think he stops him. He's never been knocked out. I don't think he subs him, so I don't like 5-1 on my money there. Fight to go the distance. Probably avoid over 1.5 rounds if you got that in a couple runners in a parlay. I don't mind that at all. That would be the only thing I touch round betting wise is over 1.5, 1.33. This might turn out to be a little bit of a nerve-wracking decision. Obviously there's going to be some body kicks open for Trinaldo, and I think he will use that to his advantage. I think he's going to slam his left leg into Jai Herbert's body repeatedly. But I think Herbert gets this done. I do. I think he comes out with a win. I really think he's a good prospect and someone to keep an eye on. And I think this is actually a good matchup. I wouldn't say that about most people debuting against Trinaldo. So that's who I'm picking. That's who I'm betting. Let me know who you're picking. Check my bet slips. Let's move on to the next scrap. We've got a returning Kianzad Chimaev versus McKee Skeletor. This is going to be a beating in my opinion. McKee's a former lightweight, 155er. He's got decent kickboxing and boxing, stands a little straight up, especially when counters are being thrown, can be countered. Quite good jab, wide open for counters, like I said. Nothing tells me that he can beat Chimaev. Really, nothing tells me that he can go in there and just dominate Kianzad Chimaev. I do not. I see this being one-way traffic. Chimaev is a beast, man. I absolutely picked him to stop and to beat Phillips, and he walked through him. That was a beating. It was a start to finish beat down, and that was at middleweight. That was at 185. So he's fighting a true, well, maybe not true. I mean, Phillips probably could and should go down to 170, but he's there, and he's a middleweight. It is what it is. He is who he is, so that's fine. But that was at 185, and he took him down, controlled him, out-muscled him, everything like that at middleweight. This fight is happening at welterweight, and Rhys McKee is a former lightweight. So that doesn't bode well for me. When you got one guy coming from here, one guy coming from here, they're meeting in the middle. I'll take the higher weight class every single day of the week, especially with the way that Chimaev fights. There's a lot of jokes going around about, like, I hope the UFC, threw in a free body bag for Rhys McKee, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of hype after last week. 10 days ago, he fights at middleweight. So in 10 days, he's going to cut that extra weight. Obviously, he was continuing to train and just watching his diet, that kind of thing. I think he's going to fight at welterweight then. That's kind of how it would seem to me, is he's going to fight at welterweight from now on. You should, if you can make that weight and do it comfortably and healthy and everything like that and look good doing it, fight at welterweight. So I honestly think that Chimaev might be a title contender at some point. I think there's just so much to like about this guy, just the way that he fights and what he can do. He's not just like a ground and pound guy. He can stand up. He can throw good, what did he lead with? He threw like a head kick to a double leg, something like that. You don't see that too much. I like this guy a lot. I think he's a phenomenal prospect, 26 years old. And again, if he fights at welterweight, he can make some moves real quick. We saw how fast, I'm not comparing the two at all, but we saw how fast Jorge Masvidal blew up the rankings. In 3 fights, he went from fighting to being 11th ranked to fighting for the belt, right? I'm not saying Chimaev can do that or will do that, and I don't think he should or could or would. They're going to bring him along a lot slower than that. Masvidal is head and shoulders an extreme amount more experienced and probably better than him right now for sure, right? So that it's a different story, but I'm just saying there's potential there, and it's open for that to be a possibility, especially if he stays active. There's guys like Leon Edwards, who hasn't fought in a year. He hasn't fought in a year. You gotta be active, when you want to talk and press for a title shot, So if Chimaev, look at Gilbert Burns, there you go. You know what I mean? Like, Gilbert Burns just blew past Rocky to get the title fight because he was fighting every other week, right? So you gotta kind of stay active. But either way, that's not what's going on here. So I think it's one-way traffic. The line has already moved even worse, like more away from Chimaev. This is by far the biggest favorite on the card. 8-1 on your money on Rhys McKee. I saw one guy on Twitter picked him. It's easy to say that, man. It's easy to say that, So go ahead. I don't give him much of a shot. I really don't. I've already bet on Chimaev a little bit, and I might bet on him more. Where you could find some value in this fight is over 1.5 rounds. Even against John Phillips, like, where did that went into the second round, and a minute in, if Rhys McKee can just kind of survive, and basically that's what I'm getting at. If he can survive for a round and a half, that's really good money right there. It's obviously saying a lot for him to do that, and the odds makers are giving you some real good money to bet on it if he does. I wouldn't touch it a ton. I would maybe bet it straight up. But that could be where you can find some value here, where there's not a ton of value, unless you really like Rhys McKee, and I'm completely wrong, and most people are completely wrong, and he goes out there and beats Kianzad Chimaev. I just don't see it. I just do not see it. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Kianzad Chimaev is going to get this win and make a push, make a run, win some fights, fight back to back to back, that kind of thing. I think, 10 days ago at another weight class, a higher weight, that's crazy. So I love it. I'm excited to see this fight. I'm excited to see him as a prospect and fight some better competition after this fight. And McKee might have a future in the UFC, and it might not be at this weight class. It might be at lightweight, and maybe it is at this weight class. I think he could have a future, but I just don't think it's going to be in this fight. So I'll leave it at that. We'll move on. Let's move on to the next fight. Let me know if you're picking McKee. I'd love to hear your reasoning for why and how. And we'll leave it at that. Let's move on to the next fight. Kicking off the main card, we've got a vet in Alex Cowboy Oliviera versus Peter Sobotta. This should be an interesting fight. I saw a picture of Sobotta and he looks a lot different. He looks great, looks in really good shape. So we'll see. I didn't quite expect that, but we'll start with Oliviera. Super fast starter. But he's got a subpar gas tank, so he's trying to get out of there quick and early. Otherwise, he's gonna fade a little bit. That's for sure. Lots of kicks. He's an underrated wrestler, actually, and he's underratedly strong. He's a fairly strong guy. It's actually kind of surprising. It's also surprising that he's fought at lightweight. He's fought at 155, which is crazy. Just when you see him, it doesn't look like he's able to get there, and he could. I don't think he will anymore or ever again. But he did fight down there. It's I was surprised by this, to be honest. Oliveira's only been in the UFC 5 years. It feels like he's been there for, 10 at least. Like, it's crazy. He's only been there 5 years. He's got 17 fights in 5 years. He's been just consistent and active. That's over 3 fights barely, but it's over 3 fights a year, right? That he's averaging. Like, it's just consistent, man. You call his name and he's going to pick up, right? It's good to see. He's had a great career. I shouldn't say great. He's had a good UFC career. There's nothing wrong with his losses. And he's got some big wins. Carlos Condit, my guy, Carlos Condit, guillotined him, which is sad to see because he's my guy, was my guy. Hopefully he's retired now. But either way, KJ Nunes, that's another interesting name that he's got a win over. Rear naked choke, lost to Gilbert Burns, lost to Donald Cerrone, lost to Mike Perry, like Nicholas Dalby, and I think that fight was a lot closer. So it's just, he's consistent. He is who he is. If you've been a fan of the UFC, you know exactly what you're getting out of Alex Oliveira, and it's going to be a fun fight. Let's pop over to Peter Sobotta. Southpaw, so we got Southpaw versus Orthodox, which could be interesting. Solid ground game, but he allows himself to be taken down too easily, which might be a thing in this. He's got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he's one of those guys, he's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he's not a very good wrestler. I say it all the time. He's one of those guys. He doesn't mind being taken down, but you're losing the fight and you're losing points. You're losing on the scorecard. He's got a good jab and good leg kicks. And, he hasn't fought in the at all since Leon Edwards in just over 2 years ago. But he looked great, like I said. He looked great in that picture, and I'm excited to see him at the weigh-ins. So we could have changed a ton of stuff. Like, when there's those kinds of layoffs, and he's not super old, 33 years old, so he was 31 roughly when in his last fight against Edwards. Beat Brandon Saunders. That's not saying a ton at this point, to be honest. Beat Nicholas Dalby. Lost to Kyle Noke, who was a very, very good fighter at that time, in my opinion. I really liked Kyle Noke. And then his first time in the UFC, 3 straight losses, unanimous decision losses. Paul Taylor, James Wilkes is another guy who I really liked, and Amir Sadallah. So this is his second run in the UFC. But he's been there since 2014, just kind of off and on, obviously. He's missed some spots, missed some time. So it'd be interesting. I'm really interested in this fight. I am. I'm really intrigued with how this is going to go. If Sobotta has changed a ton, I don't know. Then I guess he might get this win. I'm picking Alex Oliveira to win this fight. I think that he's a fast starter, so I think he could get the win quick and early. That could happen. I don't think Sobotta could do it the same to him, right? Not that he couldn't finish him. I'm not saying that he can't finish Oliveira, but I don't think he could do it, very quickly like Oliveira could do to him, with like some punches, just kind of bum rush him and get the win. And then the later it goes, Oliveira does use wrestling when he gets a little tuckered out. He does start to use some wrestling, and he is strong, and it is underrated. And like I said, Sobotta allows himself to be taken down too much because he's got the good jiu-jitsu. It's one of those guys. But Oliveira is no slouch there either. So I don't think that Sobotta is going to be able to submit him off his back. And I think if it gets past 1.5 rounds, Oliveira can start to take him down, grind him out, land some ground and pound, and get a win. We've seen him do it before. So even Leon Edwards, took him down and ground and pounded him, and that's kind of how he won the fight, right? And that's Leon Edwards. He is most certainly a stand-up fighter, right? He's obviously evolving and he's getting better everywhere, that kind of a thing. And this was over 2 years ago, Leon Edwards, right? So I think Oliveira can get this win. I'm really not going to bet this. Like, I don't think at all. I haven't touched it yet. And we'll see how the card goes. And we'll see, watch my bet slips, follow along on Twitter at Cody Woodman. It's in the description. And see, I might, depending on what's going on in the card and where I'm at and everything like that. But right now, I don't see a ton of like standout value. The 3.6 for decision win for Oliveira, I do like, and I might live bet it during the card, but I'm not touching it right now. And Sobotta for a decision is great. I think this should be a little closer as far as the line is concerned. I don't think it would entice me to bet, any more than I'm already thinking of right now. If it were closer, I just think this fight is closer. I think that, maybe 2.1 for Sobotta and 1.72 for Oliveira. That's kind of where I see this. I do think that Oliveira should be the favorite for sure, but I think it should be a little slimmer. I do, which kind of makes me want to bet Sobotta, but I'm not going to. We'll get to that, come Saturday, and we'll see if I actually bet it. Over 1.5 rounds, 1.44. I like that in a parlay. I might have put that in a parlay. If not, I probably will bet that. I do like that number. But it does make me nervous because Oliveira, like I said, is a fast starter, so he could go out there and try to get the quick finish. Is he going to? Maybe, maybe not. So maybe I don't bet that. Check the bet slips. I'm picking Alex Oliveira. Let me know who you're picking in the comments, and if you're making any bets, let me know. I like to hear and see other opinions on this kind of a thing, especially when it's this close to me. I think it's a lot closer than the line's saying. And I'm not going to bet it a ton. So let's leave it at that. It's the main, kicking off the main card. Should be an exciting one. Should be a fun fight either way. I'm excited to watch it, but I think I might just be a spectator on this one, to be honest with you. I might just sit on the sidelines and just enjoy the fight. So there you go. Let's move on to the next fight in the main card. Next fight on the main card, we got a light heavyweight bout. We got the Bear Jew Paul Craig versus, bear with me, Gadzhimurad Antigulov. That's a tongue twister, that one. We'll start with Antigulov. 20-6, orthodox fighter, really good wrestler, but that's kind of about it. Kind of a killer bee killed fighter, in 26 fights. He's had one fight go to a decision, and it was a win. One fight go to a decision in 26 fights. Again, 26 fights, 20 of his 26 fights have ended in the first round. That is friggin' insane. That is crazy. Kill or be killed. And he has been stopped. He has been, the nail on occasion. In the first round. He's got 4 first round losses. He's got however many first round wins as well. This is an interesting fight. I don't particularly love Paul Craig, but I'll get to Paul Craig. Last time out, Michel Oleksiejczuk, nice, I think I nailed that, knocked him out in the first round pretty quickly. Before that, Ion Cutelaba, punches and elbows, knocked him out in the first round. In his second fight, I think he's had 8 minutes of UFC in 4 fights in the UFC. He's at 8 minutes of ring time. It's not even a second round, you know, like it's crazy. Joachim Christensen, he got the rear naked choke win, and then his debut, Marcos Rogério Lima, guillotine choke in the first round, obviously as well. Yeah, kill or be killed with this guy. We'll move to Paul Craig. It's weird, like the way that he fights. When you watch his fights, it seems like he's never been to a decision. Never. In 16 fights, he's never seen judges' scorecards, win or lose. And when you watch him fight, that might be shocking to see. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I messed up there. Shogun Rua, his last time out against Shogun Rua, he went to a decision, a draw, split draw. But before that, sorry, I apologize. But before that, never been to a decision. He got that win against who was it? Ankalaev. Last second, Anderson Silva style prayer triangle choke, lands it against Magomed Ankalaev, who is way better than Paul Craig and was showing it in that fight, and then just couldn't survive 1 second in that choke for the win. Tapped out 4 minutes and 59 seconds of the third round. And he would have won even if it went to the decision. He gets that win for sure. But either way, and that would have been, 3 straight losses for Paul Craig. He lost to Tyson Pedro, who I do really like. Khalil Roundtree knocked him out in the first round. Almost lost to Ankalaev. 1 second left, gets the win. Gets Kimura, loses to Jimmy Crute. Beats Kennedy Zinjaku, tough name to pronounce. Third round again, triangle choke. Gets knocked out in the first round by Alonzo Menafield. Beats Vinicius Moreira, who sucks. Who's not a very good fighter. Beat him in the first round, rear naked choke. Again, I don't particularly like Paul Craig as a fighter. I really don't. He's got this weird intensity about him that makes you think he's going to run across the cage and like knock your head off your shoulders. But he's has 1 knockout in his career. So he's not exactly like a knockout artist, and that was 6 years ago. 11 of his 12 wins have come via submission. So that's what he's all about. But he's got this weird intensity, like he's gonna go out there and just knock your block off, and he's super intimidating, But it's really not. He really doesn't fight that way, to be honest with you. Allows himself to be taken down super easily, which might be an extremely poor move in this fight. Considering the wrestling credentials of Antigulov. I'm avoiding this one like a lot. I don't like, this is another one that I don't think I will really bet on unless I'm like up or down again with my bets. So check the bet slips. But I don't love this fight. I just think it's going to be sloppy. I think it's going to be a sloppy fight, and someone's going to get clipped or something, or some weird submission, and it could go either way. It really could just go either friggin' way. And so I guess you could go like for it to not go the distance, but you're really not getting much value there. 1 1/4 on your money. You could go under 1.5 rounds for 1.72, but you never know with these guys. Like with a guy like Paul Craig, you don't know. Like he can survive, and that's maybe what he'll do: get taken down, allow himself to be taken down, and then just survive, and then throw up a triangle or something. Or, you know what I mean? It's hard to predict like really how this fight's going to go. I wouldn't be mad at you if you bet under 1.5 rounds, and that might be where I go. If I do live bet this during the card, that might be where I go. Or I might just take someone to finish. Even the money line money is not terrible. So there's lots of value. It's just like, who's going to win? That's the thing. Like there is value here. It's just very hard to predict who's going to win this fight. I think it's a complete toss up. Both guys could knock each other out. Both guys could submit each other. Yeah, you're just not getting crazy good value on the round betting. Again, under 1.5 rounds, the only place that I can find value. I'm picking Paul Craig. I'm picking Paul Craig to win this because, I think he can take a punch better than Antigulov. That's the biggest reason. And their submission skills are either tied, or I give the edge to Paul Craig. So, and for chin, I give the advantage to Paul Craig. Um, just skill, stand-up skill, I give to Paul Craig. I just think Paul Craig is all around and overall the better fighter. So that's what I'm picking. If I do bet, I'll probably take Paul Craig, I guess. But 1.5 rounds, under 1.5 rounds, just see somebody get knocked out in the first round, perfect. But it should be a fun, exciting fight. And that's why, like, it's just, I'll probably avoid it for the most part. Check my bet slips, like I said. Let me know who you're picking. If you have a solid, fundamental reason for why you're picking either of these guys, I'd be really interested to hear it. But there you go. So I'm picking Paul Craig. Let's move on to the next fight. All right, we got a strawweight bout, women's strawweight bout. We got Marina Rodriguez versus the Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza. Let's start with the Cookie Monster. We got an orthodox fighter, very small, 5'1". She's a short girl. Last time out against Michelle Waterson, a lot of people thought that Michelle Waterson won that fight. I actually had it scored for Esparza, so she did get the win. Beats Alexa Grasso, who I thought would get the win against her as well. I guess that's two straight, striker type of fighters. Waterson's fairly well-rounded. Grasso is definitely a very good striker. And she got the win against both of them. I thought that Waterson would have the advantage in the striking, and it actually kind of seemed like Esparza did in that fight, to be honest with you. Last time she's fought kind of a striker that's similar was Mirna Moroz, but that was 3 years ago, and it's just, I think Rodriguez is quite a bit more skilled than her, to be honest with you. I guess Angie Hill back in the day, but that was like 6 years ago, and Angie Hill's a different fighter than she was then. And Esparza's super experienced. She's been in there with a lot of girls. She's seen a lot of stuff. Good wrestler, can control well on top. Not a ton of volume on the feet. She's a grinder. She's a grinder who wants to make her opponent tired. However, she doesn't have the greatest cardio, so she wants to make her opponent tired, but she gets tired in the process as well. Like in the Alexa Grasso fight, she almost put her away in the third round. Grasso, she looked great in that third round. She had way more gas in the tank than Esparza, and you would think, like, the way the fight was going, it'd be the other way around. It was really interesting in that Grasso fight. Like, this Carla Esparza is made of rubber, I swear to God. Like, how did Grasso not break her arm? How is her arm not broken in that arm bar? It was gross. It literally was bent like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really see what I'm doing here, but it was disgusting. It was disgusting, and I can't believe she didn't break her arm. She's made of rubber. So, move over to Marina Rodriguez. Super long, super rangy striker. Who uses all 8 points. She's an 8-point striker. Knees, elbows, fists, punch, kicks, everything. Feet, you know what I'm talking about. 8-point fighter. Really good in the clinch. Not a good wrestler or grappler pretty much at all, which this is she's got an accurate right hand, whether it's an Irene Aldana type-esque, 1-2. But she's got an accurate right hand, whether she's throwing a 1-2, whatever it is, hooks, just straight rights. She's got a really good straight right hand, accurate right hand. This is very much a striker versus grappler, in my opinion, this fight. Throwback fight, striker versus grappler. Last time out for Rodriguez, she had a majority draw against Cynthia Calvillo, which is like an extremely comparable opponent to Carla Esparza. Before that, she picked apart Tisha Torres, who again is relatively close. Esparza is definitely more of a wrestler than Tisha Torres is, for sure. Got the win against Jessica Aguilar. That's a very good win. Had another majority draw against Randa Marcos. And then she was on the Contender Series and in the regionals before that. So she's definitely got, including her last time out, of an extremely similar opponent. Cynthia Calvillo is an extremely similar opponent to Carla Esparza. Last time Carla Esparza fought someone like Marina Rodriguez, it was quite a while ago. I guess you could say Alexa Grasso. You definitely could say Alexa Grasso, but I think and I know Rodriguez is taller, longer, rangier, that kind of a thing, and I think probably is a better striker than Alexa Grasso. That might be a fight that I'd like to see. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and pick Marina Rodriguez. I think she will have the better gas tank overall. She could lose the first round. Carla Esparza could take her down, grind her out, try to make her tired, which is what she will do and should do. She should do that. And that's her most clean route to victory, is to wrestle her, grapple her, take her down, ground and pound, potentially submission. But Rodriguez has never been beaten. She's 12-0-2. Two draws, 12 wins, 0 losses. So do I think that Carla Esparza can win this fight? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I like what I see from Marina Rodriguez. If she's just getting smarter and more experienced and better, I don't think that Carla Esparza, can make those kind of adjustments that Marina Rodriguez could. She could jab the crap out of her for 3 straight rounds, keep her on the outside. It's a 30-foot cage. It's a big cage. She can move. She can slip, that kind of thing. And that's what she needs to do. Like, the routes to victory are extremely clear in these fights. Anytime it's a wrestler versus grappler, it's so clear what they need to do. So I'm not, saying anything groundbreaking over here. It's pretty obvious. That's what needs to happen for each fighter. I'm picking Marina Rodriguez to win this. I think she can stay on the outside, slip and move, stick and move, that kind of thing, and just pick her apart and win a decision. I'm probably not going to bet on this at all. I think I put the over 1.5 in a parlay because a little extra juice, 1.12. I think it's extremely likely that it does go there, considering the way that these girls fight. But there's not a ton of value anywhere else, and it's extremely a coin flip. I don't think anyone will feel comfortable going to a decision, which is where I think this fight goes. 1.25 for it to go to a decision, not good value. If you can find a finish here for either girl, good on you, and you bet it, good on you. You could even just take no, that's decent money, but the girls are both getting really good value for a stoppage. If you can find it, good on you. Let me know in the comments how it happens, and I'll give you a shout out for it. But I mean, if I had to bet, gun to my head, if I have to bet, I would go with Marina Rodriguez. I won't be doing it. I already took the over 1.5 in a parlay. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. I don't like betting on a fight like this. I really don't. Not in any sort of meaningful way anyways. So there you go. That's who I'm picking, Marina Rodriguez. I think Carla Esparza absolutely could win this, so I wouldn't sue you for taking her in the money line. If you want to get that 2.5 on your money, it's decent value. Let me know who you're picking in the comments. Let's move on to the next fight. We're plowing through this card, guys. We're getting there. All right, we got another heavyweight bout, which might sound weird when we're talking about Alexander Gustafsson, but we got a heavyweight fight with Alexander the Mauler / the Great Gustafsson versus Fabricio Werdum. This is interesting, man. I actually didn't think that Gustafsson was going to come back. I didn't, but now that he's come back at heavyweight, I actually love it. I really do. I've been saying this about the heavyweight division for a long time. There's tons of room for someone to just fly up the rankings. Again, look at Rosenstruck. There's room for somebody to just fly up and get a title shot relatively quickly. Almost like right away, behind Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, Stipe, and Cormier. It is wide open, and Cormier, especially if he beats Stipe, I think he retires and it's over. So then that gets rid of one. You got 3 guys, and Gustafsson it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the heavyweight division moving forward. Especially if a guy named Bones makes an appearance there. But either way, let's talk about this fight. I'm super excited actually to see Gustafsson at heavyweight. I really am. So let's start with Werdum. Fabricio Werdum got popped by USADA after the Volkov fight. It was relatively short sentence. And then comes back, split decision loss against Alexei Olenek in his last time out against, in the UFC 249, the first card in the pandemic, Ferguson versus Gaethje, which was an awesome card. And I actually picked that to go to decision, and I picked Olenek to win in the decision. So there you go. But he's one of the best jiu-jitsu artists in the world, especially at heavyweight. Him and Frank Mir are probably two of the top guys almost ever for jiu-jitsu. Terrible gas tank. He's got, especially at this age, he's got a very terrible gas tank. Strong grappler who will look to clinch and get his hands on him. He's going to want to close the distance, get his hands on him. That's almost every fighter that fights Alexander Gustafsson. How much he moves, they want to grab him, get their hands on him, maybe take him down. I think his last 2 fights he lost via, getting taken down, and ground and pound and a rear naked choke by Anthony Smith. Yeah. So there you go. And then had an awesome fight against Glover Teixeira before the John Jones fight. Might go down as the greatest light heavyweight to not win the title. He didn't even win an interim belt, which is, I don't know, it's not exactly a travesty, but it's he might be the best ever to not win a belt, or he didn't even get the interim. So it is what it is. He might make a run at heavyweight, and I hope he kind of does. So here we go. Before Alexei Olenek, before he got popped by USADA, fought a very similar opponent in Alexander Volkov. Volkov has a worse gas tank and does not throw as much volume as Gustafsson, in my opinion. And he knocked him out in the 4th round, and Werdum was just exhausted by then. 3-round fight we got here. So let's move over to Gustafsson and just kind of break him down. Orthodox versus orthodox for the most part, but Gustafsson does switch to southpaw, I should say, and he stands straight up a lot. So he gives a lot of different looks. And he's good with both hands too. So tons of movement, lateral movement, like I said, straight up and side to side, tons of movement, tons of teep kicks, leg kicks, that kind of a thing. Great head movement, really good slips. He'll just kind of slip a huge overhand and go for a quick run, reset himself type of thing. He does it every fight, and he does it to every fighter. He'll just slip out, run halfway around the cage, and then reset and get ready for you to try to come and attack him type of thing. He's got really good takedown defense and really good balance. Obviously, all of these stats and all of these tendencies were at light heavyweight. It'll be interesting to see how it translates, and I'm really interested to see what his weight's going to be at. I hope that he's sitting at mid to high 230s is kind of where I'd like to see him. I don't know what he weighs in, what he cuts to get to 205. Like, what does he walk around at? That's interesting. I don't know. He probably walks around at 230 or whatever, maybe in the 240s when he's kind of not in training camp. But it'll be interesting when he's in a training camp and not cutting weight, right? He's not dieting. He's not cutting weight at all. That'll be interesting. I'm really interested to see what he weighs in at. And like I said, I hope it's like the high 230s, maybe low 240s, something like that. Yeah, he's a tall guy, so it should be interesting. The thing is, I just don't think that Fabrizio Verdum is going to be able to cut the cage off and get a hold of him in a 30-foot cage, and just the way that he can move. I think he can literally dance around Verdum and just pick him apart. Jab, 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 kicks, teep kicks, leg kicks, and just pick him apart. He might win a decision here. Either way, I really don't give Werdum a ton of opportunity to win this fight unless he takes him down, somehow gets a hold of him and takes him down in the first round and submits him. Pretty much the only opportunity I give Werdum to win this. Honestly, as the fight keeps going, he's going to get more and more tired, and Gustafsson has a fantastic gas tank. He's been in a lot of 5-round fights, and he moves extremely well, again, at light heavyweight, but I don't think there's going to be too much of a problem there. I really don't. So I'm absolutely picking Gustafsson to win this fight. I hope he makes a run at heavyweight. Like I said, there's lots of room. There's lots of room for someone to just kind of fly through the rankings, especially with name value like Alex Gustafsson. So I think he gets the win relatively easily. I think I did already bet it in a parlay on the money line. I might take a look at the decision money, but I'll probably live bet it. Because, yeah, Werdum, he's tough to like knock out. I don't think he's gonna go out there. And Gustafsson is more of a volume striker. He's not like a one punch knockout guy. You know, even against like Glover Teixeira, fifth round. Yeah, he hasn't stopped anybody like Jimmy Manawa, whose chin is fairly suspect. That was 6 years ago, right? And then, you know, Anthony Rumble Johnson knocked him out in the first round, but Werdum doesn't hit anywhere near as hard. Not many guys in the world hit nearly as hard as Rumble Johnson, but yeah, split decision loss in a 5-round fight to Daniel Cormier. Unanimous decision win against Jan Blachowicz, 3-round fight, you know, 5 rounds against Glover Teixeira, 3rd round against John Jones. If you want to go over 1.5 rounds, you know, I just made a case for you right there. So I definitely don't mind that number at all. 1.53 over 1.5 rounds. Fight to go the distance, 2.2 that's good money right there. Like, that's good money for it to go to the distance. I might just take the 1.5 rounds. That's a lot safer in my opinion. You know, you could see a stoppage here for Gustafsson. I don't like to bet the distance if I think it's only one way. You know, if only one guy's going to get the stoppage, which is what I see. I mean, Werdum maybe could, like I said, maybe if he could take him down, get a hold of him, cut off the cage, grab him, take him down, and land an armbar, you know, in the first round. That's the only shot I really give Werdum to stop this fight. And I just don't see that happening, you know, especially with how fresh Gustafsson will be in the first round and how well he moves. I highly doubt it. So 1.5 rounds, I really like that money. Money line for Gustafsson, sure, why not? Decision money for Gustafsson, I don't mind that at all. So there you go. Let me know who you're picking. This is an intriguing fight. I'm excited to see it. Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We got the co-main event. I'm not going to take up too much time on this one. It's not exactly like the greatest fight around. These guys are just old vets. It's kind of like Shogun, I don't think has ever, like, he's probably not been a main or co-main event maybe once in his UFC career. He's always been either the main event or the co-main event in every single one of his fights. So there's that. He was the interim light heavyweight champ at one point, beat Lyoto Machida. A lot of people think he won the first fight against Machida. Either way, they ran it back and he knocked him out in the first round to win the interim belt, then lost to John Jones and has kind of just been one of the guys since then. He did kind of make a run. Beat Nogueira the last time they fought, and Corey Anderson, John Vellante, and then lost to Anthony Smith via vicious elbow to the face. Beat Tyson Pedro after that via, you know, TKO punches, but Pedro tore his ACL in that fight. He was probably losing anyways, and it probably would have, if it went to a decision, he would have, I think Hua would have won that, you know, unanimous decision, 29-28, but he tore his ACL, and that was kind of all she wrote. Last time out against Paul Craig, gets a split draw in that one. First draw of his career. I you know what, like, I have some stuff written down, but like, everybody knows who these guys are. If you haven't, like, I'm more gonna geek out pride wise. Like, these guys, like, Shogun was legit. He was one of my favorite fighters back in the day in Pride. He was a friggin' killer. Fought some awesome guys like Evangelista Santos, Cyborg Santos. If you are curious where Christine Cyborg got her nickname from, she was married to him, and that's where she got the nickname Cyborg. That's his nickname. There you go. You know, Babalu Sobral, Akihiro Gono, Rampage Jackson, Lil Nog, who he's fighting now. Alistair Overeem. Yes, Alistair Overeem used to fight at a much lighter weight class. Ricardo Arona, Cyril Diabate, Kevin Randleman, Nakamura, Chuck Liddell, Machida. Man, like, the list goes on and on and on. This guy's a legend. First ballot, surefire, 100% Hall of Famer, both guys. It's going to be just fine. Like, it's going to be a fun fight. It's like it's Lil Nog's last fight, like, for sure. Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, twin brother Rodrigo Nogueira. Again, like these guys are very similar. Like they both come from Pride. They both like Antonio Rogerio and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, both nicknamed Minotauro. Big Nog, Little Nog. This is Little Nog. Mauricio Shogun Hua, his brother Murillo Ninja Hua, who is a sick fighter in Pride too. They're just very similar, and it'll just be fun and fine, and a good send off for Lil Nog. And I don't think Shogun has too many more miles on him either. So this is the trilogy, even though Shogun's won the 2 fights. So we'll see, man. We'll see who wins this. Shootbox fighter, like put that Shootbox name on the map. Really back in the day. Both are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. I think if there's like a difference at all in the ground, I think there's 2 differences, and they both go to Shogun. Striking, for sure. Shogun is the better striker, for sure. And he's a better wrestler. And we've seen him wrestle a little more lately. Like in his more recent fights, you've seen him wrestle a bunch more. Nogueira is a very good jiu-jitsu artist, but he's not a very good wrestler at all. Against Tyson Pedro, he was doing it. He's more well-rounded, I guess I could say. I guess is kind of what I'm getting at here. But it'll be a nice send-off fight for Lil Nog. They're both Brazilian guys. I think this fight was supposed to take place in Brazil, which would have been good. I think Shogun gets the win again. There's nothing to say he's not going to get this win. He could knock him out. I don't think I'm going to bet on this, really. Like, if I do, I'll bet on Shogun. I kind of just want to leave it alone and just watch it and let it happen. You can check my bet slips. It's just a fight on the card at this point, which is like, they're legends. Both these guys are absolute legends in the UFC and Pride and just in mixed martial arts in general. The names that they've fought, their name recognition, their name value is kind of through the roof. That's why they're in this slot. Like realistically, Gustafsson Werdum should be the co-main event, but these guys have just been around forever. 44 and 38 years old, and it's just a good fight. Let's just watch the fight. You could pick it to not to go decision. I don't know, bet whatever you want, man. Like I probably won't bet on it, like I said, a ton. If I do, I'll bet Shogun. I think Shogun wins. He could knock him out. 2-1 on your money for the knockout. You could just go under 2.5 rounds, 1.44. That's better value than the to the distance money. I don't think Lil Nog, I don't think Nogueira gets this win like at all. I don't give him a shot pretty much at all. Like obviously he's going to want to go out on top, but at that age, it's just like, when you ask your body to do things and it doesn't quite respond the way you want it to, or the way it should, or the way it used to, it's just, that's just how I kind of see this going. Shogun can do more and he's going to get the win. So, bet on Shogun, don't bet on Shogun. That's who I'm picking. I'm not, like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time on this one. It's just a fight, realistically. Like, there's really no weight to this fight, pretty much at all. But besides the legendary status of both of these guys. So there you go. I'm picking Shogun Hua. We finally got through the card. Let's get on to the main event of the evening. I got a bunch to say about that one, so let's go. Main event time, peeps. This is actually a really good fight. I'm really excited to watch this fight. I really, really am. There's a lot of implications, obviously. There's a ton of title implications. You could just say that the winner of this fight faces the winner of Costa and Adesanya. Even though Whittaker lost to Adesanya in fairly clean fashion, if he gets this win, he was a champ for however long. You got, if he gets another quality win, which this absolutely is, you got to give him a title shot. So, Jared Cannonier's right there. There's Jack Hermansson's right there. There's a couple guys that are right there, but either way, I think the winner of this gets the winner of Costa and Adesanya. I think they should, and I think they will, and I think it's a great fight. Even if it's Whittaker Adesanya again, I think I'm more than happy to watch that fight again. So let's start with Darren Till. last time out, fights Kelvin Gastelum. It was a good, solid fight, but it wasn't like anything crazy to write home about. Split decision win for Till. Yeah, it was a good fight. Nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't some crazy, amazing, there was no huge moments in that fight, Before that, gets knocked out at 170 by Jorge Masvidal in devastating fashion, and that was kind of what propelled Masvidal into where he is right now. That's kind of where it started. Before that, he lost to Wonder Boy, and then knocks out Till. You know the rest of the story. Before that, he got a title shot, which was fairly deserved. He kind of got rushed into it, but it was deserved because he beat Wonder Boy against Tyron Woodley, and that did not go his way at all. He looked like he wasn't ready to be there, and I think he'd probably admit that if he asked him. Before that, he was undefeated. Took a draw to Nicholas Dalby, which was pretty surprising. And then a couple decision wins. KOs Donald Cerrone, which kind of propelled him into that title conversation. Gets the unanimous decision win against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, in which was kind of, it was you could call it a striker's delight, I guess, but it didn't really, again, it was very Kelvin Gastelum. There wasn't a lot of huge moments. There wasn't a lot of highlights in that fight at all. 5 rounds of a lot of, fainting, looking in the mirror, trying to draw out the other guy's game plan. It was very much chess, that fight. Very much chess. And Till won it and came out on top, gets the fight against Tyron Woodley. So I'll leave it at that for now. Southpaw, tall. I shouldn't say tall. They're the same height, relatively. And just a little bit longer than Whittaker. Southpaw versus Orthodox is something. There's Till. I'm going to leave it at that for now for Till. Move over to Robert Whittaker. They're both used to be welterweights. Both big welterweights that should move up to middleweight, and they both did, and here we go. If we're looking at strength of schedule, if you want to talk about strength of schedule, Robert Whittaker absolutely, has the advantage there. 2 wars against Yoel Romero. A lot of people think that Yoel won first, second fights, whatever, especially the second one. But, the judges thought that Whittaker won. So let's leave it at that. I'm not here to talk about that right now. It is what it is. Head kick knockout, head kick and punches knockout of Jacare Souza, which was so sweet. And then, not sweet because I don't like Souza. It was just a sweet fight and it was a good knockout. And did the same thing against Derek Brunson. Again, not that I don't like Derek Brunson. It was just a good fight and good knockout. Rafael Natal, who's actually a pretty underrated fighter, got the decision win there. Beats Uriah Hall, who I quite a bit like. And he just kind of beat him, outpointed him there. Brad Tavares knocked him out, which is an extremely good win in my opinion. Mike Rhodes, Clint Hester, sure, beats those guys. Here's the thing. Coming into the Adesanya fight, I was already basically crowning Adesanya the champ. It seemed like Adesanya was already the champ when that fight took place. And now, as I sit here, I feel like that's me being a bit of a casual. Even though I was a huge Adesanya fan, I still am. I really like Adesanya. I was a bigger fan when no one knew who he was and he was, just coming into the UFC. But now that he's I thought he would be champ, and here we are. He's champ. There you go. Hasn't lost ever. But it seemed like he was already the champ. Like he had already won the fight. It was already a foregone conclusion that he was going to beat Whittaker and be the champ, which he did. But I don't think I should have thought that way. I really don't. Now that I'm sitting here looking at it, I shouldn't have thought that way. That was kind of a casual thinking of me, I don't think I was giving credit to Whittaker for the wars that he's been in and for the guys that he's beaten and his strength of schedule. I don't think I was giving Whittaker enough credit for these things. And I don't particularly know why I wasn't. I don't really know why. I just didn't, I just didn't think he was at that level. And in the Adesanya fight, he actually was looking great. He actually did really, really well. And you could say he was winning that first round until he got dropped in the last, 10 seconds or whatever it was. Once that happened, Adesanya definitely wins the round and then knocked him out in the second. Ended up finishing the fight in the second. So I guess you could say like I was right, but I think I was kind of jumping the gun there. I think Whittaker is a friggin' animal. He's a bit of a beast. He's been in some crazy wars. Obviously the Romero fights, and his strength of schedule, the guys that he's beaten, is pretty impressive. And it's impressive the way he's done it. Like to head kick, knockout Jacare Souza, that's impressive. And I don't think I was giving it the credit it was due. So there, I'll say that. Now, what does he kind of do? He bounces on his toes until he gets a little bit tired. So early in the fight, he's very, very energetic, bouncing on his toes type of thing. But he does kind of fade and becomes a little more flat-footed, which is like, understandable. It's fair. I'm not going to eat his lunch for getting tired as the fight goes on. As you're in a friggin' fist fight, you're getting tired. I get it. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, which is, more than Darren Till for sure. So if you want to here's the thing, I came into this thinking Till was going to win this fight, I honestly thought that he was a bunch taller, probably like 2-3 inches taller, like maybe 5'9" to 6'2" or 6 foot to 6'2". I thought Till was taller than he is. For some reason, I just thought he was 6'2" or something. And I thought he would have a reach advantage and all that kind of stuff. Turns out he doesn't. And there's some things that are making me think Whittaker now. Till holds his chin up a fair bit high. He's pretty available to be countered. You kind of saw it in Masvidal, the Masvidal fight where he got knocked out, and just watching exchanges in other fights, he's got his head up, and just the way that he prefers to head movement, head movement back instead of blocking, right? I don't like seeing that, but he's got his chin up too. It's one thing to, to bob and weave type of thing. It's another thing to just throw your head back straight up. And Masvidal took advantage of that. So his chin is definitely available to be countered in exchanges, in the striking exchanges. And that makes me nervous, especially with the way Robert Whittaker can finish combos with head kicks. So, who am I picking to win this fight? I'm picking Robert Whittaker to win this fight. And I think there's a reasonable chance he stops him. I think there's a reasonable chance he knocks him out. If there's a massive advantage, there's a fairly large advantage for Robert Whittaker on the ground. I think Robert Whittaker can wrestle him, take him down, ground and pound, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff. I think he can get the better of him on the ground, relatively easily. That's probably his easiest route to victory, is to take him down, ground and pound, maybe tap him out. He's better jiu-jitsu, that kind of thing. But I don't think he does that. I think they stand up. I think they stand and trade. And I think that there's a reasonable possibility that Whittaker knocks him out. If you look at Till's fights and you watch his fights and look at his record and all this kind of stuff, he's not walking through guys. He's not just crushing dudes and knocking them out. He's got 2 knockouts on his UFC resume, wins, 1 against Donald Cerrone. To be honest, it's not saying a ton right now. Donald Cerrone is a 55er. He's fought the majority of his career at 155. And that fight took place at 170, and he was quite a large amount bigger than Donald Cerrone. Cerrone has a little bit of a suspect chin at this point in his career, which pains me to say because I really love Donald Cowboy Cerrone. But it is just true, especially when it's a bigger guy raining big punches on you. So I'm not going to look too much into that Donald Cerrone knockout. The other one was to Wendell de Oliveira Marquez. Yeah, I don't know who that is either. So, and that was 5 years ago. So I'm not, Jason Ayari, Nicholas Dalby, you know, are taking him to a decision and a draw. You know, Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, yeah, I'm not expecting him to like KO Kelvin Gastelum. I'm not expecting him to KO Jorge Masvidal. I'm not expecting him to KO Tyron Woodley. I'm not particularly expecting him to KO Stephen Thompson. But early in his career, I would have really liked to see more KOs. You know, in the UFC. He had a bunch in the undercards and stuff like that, and on the regionals. But that's not the same. It's just not, unless there's some big time name value down there. But there's not on his resume. There's really not. So this is another one where I think it's kind of one way. Like, has Robert Whittaker been knocked out? Yeah, a few times. Absolutely, a few times. I just don't think Darren Till is going to be the guy to do it. And I know Darren Till's only been knocked out once, but it's really concerning the way he holds his head up that way. Like the way he holds his head up that high, you know, like Kelvin Gastelum is a bunch smaller than Till and Whittaker. So Till could stay on the outside and pick him apart. That's not true with Whittaker. Stephen Thompson, they're going to both stay on the outside, picking each other apart type of a thing and see who wins, right? And beyond that, like Woodley did what he had to do, clipped him once, you know, didn't knock him out, but he definitely clipped him and then took him down to the ground, beat him up down there, bravo, choke, game over. Masvidal gets on the inside, knocks him out, you know, rushes him with it was like a step in. It's like a step in right, I believe, and then landed a big left hand. I think Whittaker can do that, especially if he's finishing these combos with a big head kick, and I think that there's a reasonable possibility that a head kick knocks him out. So that's what I'm thinking happens. I'm picking Whittaker. I will bet on him, and I will bet on him to stop him. I will. I haven't yet. I haven't bet on this fight at all yet. But check my bet slips, and I will. I absolutely will. I'm going to bet on Whittaker on the money line, and probably I'll sprinkle some stoppage money. Fight to go the distance, I'm not touching in this one at all. I'm not even looking at that one. The round betting, I don't really like those numbers if I'm being honest. I mean, over 2.5 maybe, but that's too much risk for just 1.5 on my money. I'm not taking that. Under 4.5, I would rather go with for 1.8. I'd rather go with under 4.5 than under 3.5 for an extra 0.2. You know, less than a quarter. No, so under 4.5. And Whittaker to win and to potentially stop him. That's what I'm picking. That's what I'm picking. That's what I'm betting on. Check my bet slips. Let me know who you're picking in the comments. I gave you tons to chew on. We finally got through this card, 15 fights. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know what you think in the comments. Help me out. Like and share. Subscribe. Send it to friends, family. Get me some more subscribers. Help me out. You know, let's build this channel. We're building it together. Thank you, everybody that follows and subscribes and comments. I appreciate it sincerely. Check my bet slips. Follow the link. There will be a link in the description for my Twitter account where I post every single one of my bet slips. I'm excited for this fight card. Let's go. Thanks for watching.